my name is Ashley and this is my husband Vernell, and today is our 1-year anniversary. And so I know that some of you guys have read my story about how we met, but I wanted you guys to have both of our perspectives on how we first met and how we now became a married couple.
Yeah, so we appreciate all of the love that we have seen in the Black Love page posts, and even the interest that people have had in our story. And honestly, it's a privilege and a blessing to inspire. I think that hearing how relationships are done from a godly point of view, and even, you know, Black love in general, right? We're helping to break cycles and negative stigmas that, you know, Black folks can't have good and healthy relationships. I know we just are getting started. We're in our 1-year anniversary, but we definitely are in it for the long haul. So how did we meet? So let me start by saying that it was a very interesting time in life. For me, I was just starting my business, and I was like really focused. God spoke to me about a company that I was supposed to create, and at that time, I was like laser focused. Nothing else mattered. I was all about purpose, and I wasn't even open to the idea of actually being in a relationship at that time. I was just all about the grind, right? And I've been known to be pretty prophetic, right? Just sometimes the things that I dream come to pass in real life. So I ended up having a dream in December of 2015, and in the dream, I actually was going into the church that I was at that time, and I was walking with a woman. But I was walking with the woman, and the woman had a banner in her hand. We were walking into the front of the church to go and take a seat. She had a pole, and at the top was a big banner that said wife. It literally said wife. And we went to go take our seats, and then that was it. And so I was like shook from the dream. I was like, wait a minute. And it was one of those things that I knew God was speaking to me. I knew without a doubt. I just didn't know exactly how it was gonna play out. The big thing that the dream did for me was it actually just opened up my eyes. It opened up my awareness, right? So before I was not looking, but it created a sense of like, now I'm starting to observe the women around me. I'm just more open to it. So I'm at the gym. I'm at 24 Hour Fitness in San Bernardino, and I was running on the treadmill, and actually just before getting on the treadmill, I saw her on the Stairmaster behind me.
My favorite machine, by the way.
So I saw her on the Stairmaster behind me, but I didn't make myself known then. I went for a run. When I got off, I got a better look at her, and I was like, man, that looks like the girl that I saw in my dream. In the dream, I saw her hair, her height, her skin color. The only thing I didn't see was her face, but I saw her hair, the texture, the color, her height, and the skin color. So I was like, man, that looks like the girl in my dream. So I actually smiled real big because I wanted to see if she was nice. So I gave her a big smile, and honestly, I was like, yo, if she don't smile back, she ain't the one, right? Like, if she's not nice, she ain't the one. So she did smile back, so she passed that test.
So let me tell you, I'm on the Stairmaster, and usually when I go to the gym, I'm like super focused. I don't care who's at the gym. I'm not looking at you. I just want to get my workout in and bounce. And so I'm on a Stairmaster, and I see this guy coming over, and he just cheesing like, and I'm like, what is he smiling at? So yeah, I like smile back at him.
And so obviously I wanted to talk to her, but you know, I was a fitness professional even at that time, so I knew, hey man, it's not safe to go and try to talk to somebody on the Stairmaster that's you can't turn your head or nothing like that. So, and I didn't want to interrupt her workout. So, in my mind, I was like, I'm not gonna force it. It doesn't seem like it's good timing, right? And I was like very, very, very connected and just following God's lead in this whole thing. I wasn't gonna make a mistake, right? So looking at the timing, I was like, okay, well, I can't talk to her. I can't just stand here like a weirdo, right? That would be weird. So I was done with my workout. So literally, I was about to leave. I went to go leave the gym. And as I'm walking towards the door, I'm walking out, I literally uttered to God, I said, God, if that's who you showed me in the dream, if that is my wife, if that's her, I'm about to walk out. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna look back one time before I walk out. And if she's off of the Stairmaster, that's her, right? So I turned around, and sure enough, not only was she off of the Stairmaster, she was over in this secluded area, like this stretch area.
It's my favorite second number 2 area to go to work on abs.
So I was like, oh, well, I gotta talk to her, right? And I walked over, and I think I started with something like, man, I don't even talk to people at the gym. Like I've never done that before. And, I'd introduced myself. I don't know all of the details of everything that I said, but we exchanged numbers.
Yeah, he basically came over. He was talking about his business that he just started. He was a nice guy, so I was like, okay, let me give him my number. I don't usually do this either at the gym, but okay.
So after that, we obviously talked over the phone and text message. I invited her. I thought it was a good idea to invite her to something that my friend at the time said that he was doing. So my boy Cecil, my boy said he was having like a little holiday, like a game night, right? At his house. And I'm thinking it's gonna be a bunch of people there, right? It's just gonna be a big, nice, full game night. And it was around Christmas. So I invited her. And so we go and we get in the house, and it's literally just me, Cecil, and my boy Jose. It's just three dudes, and it's just her.
So I'm like looking around like, all right, we just gonna play some games then.
Right. Oh man, so fortunately it wasn't too weird, right? But the guys, they were like asking questions.
They were grilling me.
They were grilling her, right? It's having a strong community, and they wanted to make sure like she's a good woman, even for their guy, So afterwards, after we left, we went to go eat, and we set up like a meeting to go or a date to go to the movies next. And I was working. I had clients. I was taking clients from like 5 a.m. to like 11 p.m. I was on the super grind, but I made a little time out of my schedule to go to the movies on this date. I was running a little bit behind. I think I ran into some traffic.
And he was late. Ladies, he was late.
Yeah.
And so that was like my biggest pet peeve at the time. I'm super very timely usually, right?
Me too.
So so I was sitting in the parking lot, in this movie theater parking lot. I'm like, man, it's like 15 minutes past from when the movie started, and I'm like, I don't even want to go to the movies anymore. And so I wait for him, but then I just like kind of cancel the movie. So we just kind of like just stay and chill in the car and just talk.
Yeah. So we just stayed in the car. We talked. We just wanted to take advantage of that time that we had planned to be together and to get to know one another. Now, during that conversation, it became apparent like we were just at two different places in our journey, right? Spiritually, and I was not hiding anything. Like I was just talking about my life and journey, and I knew that it got, a little too heavy for her, or overall, right? I just knew it from that conversation. I knew it wasn't time. We talked about different things, right? But at the end of that conversation, I literally knew it was not the right time, which also it's very prophetic, because when I saw her at the gym and I saw her on the Stairmaster, that was what I thought. I was like, the timing's not right. But I waited and checked with God just to at least make that introduction. But it speaks prophetically about the just that time and that season, that it just was not the right timing. However, the connection was divine, right? It was absolutely what God ordained. So after that conversation, actually during the conversation, I started to have a conversation with God, like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna let her go. She got out of my car, and I had a convo with God, like, yo, God, I'm not even gonna continue to pursue her. If that's her, you're gonna bring her back around. Like, I had full faith. I just knew what I saw in the dream was so, like, I just knew it was all God and so real and very prophetic. So
when we were sitting in that car, some of the things that we talked about was like family, where we're headed on our journey, what we've been through in the past. And this guy was like super transparent, very open. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not used to that, right? You're used to like guys who just like say the fluff, like, like just to like have game or spit game to you. And so there's this guy, he's like being transparent, being transparent, telling me all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is heavy. And because it wasn't something that I was used to, and something that is healthy, right? It should be healthy for us to be transparent with one another when we're meeting each other, and not just like this game being talked about, And so because I wasn't used to that, I thought it was bad. Like, I felt like, oh my gosh, this is too much for me. And on top of that, so when I was in high school, I used to like Google or doodle in class, and like I was like, I don't know, for some reason this name came to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna name my daughter Aminique. And I would just like write it all over my notebooks. I had the way that I was gonna spell it and everything, and I thought it was the best name ever. And so I told my mom, I told my sister, and ooh, nice butterfly. They thought it was very like silly. Like, they thought I was just goofy and it was a funny name. And I was like, no, I really love this name. And so while we had that conversation in the car, he's telling me about like his daughter. And I'm like, what's your daughter's name? He's like, Aminique. And I'm just like, what? Like how common is that name? Like, it's not like my name, Ashley, where everybody's name is Ashley, you know what I mean? And so I was just like really thrown back. And like he said, like our spiritual, I was somewhere different on my spiritual path with God. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on right now? But I felt heavy, like really heavy. So then he was already late. I felt heavy. And then I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll just leave now. And so I got out the car.
Yeah. So nothing bad happened. We literally were cool. We stayed friends on Facebook,
it was Facebook.
Friends on Facebook, and I just stopped kind of like paying attention to her. Like, we just didn't talk.
We just stopped talking.
We just literally just stopped talking.
Literally.
And I literally just like moved on with firm, like, I knew that my prayer was like, it is what it is, right? And God was gonna take care of it. And I think like a year or a year and a half later, I was doing an outreach with my church at the county of San Bernardino, at one of their buildings. We had planned to go and bring them breakfast, right? We just wanted to serve on community servants, those that are working for the county, and provide breakfast. So we showed up. They announced it on the intercom for all of the employees there. And lo and behold, who shows up? I had no idea she was at this office. but she shows up. One of the few. There weren't that many that showed up, okay, for breakfast. But she shows up. And yeah.
Yeah, so it was I'm hardly ever in the office. I'm a therapist, so I'm always out in the field seeing some kids providing therapy. And so it was just like one of the days where I was like, I'm gonna stay in the office and do some paperwork. And then over the intercom, they're like, hey, there's some people in the break room that want to give you guys breakfast. And I'm like, oh, breakfast? Like, that is my favorite meal of the day. And then so I go into the break room, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, it's Vernell. And then like his church there serving us. And I was like, wow. And so we kind of engaged in some like small talk. But at that time, I still was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, you know?
Yeah. And vice versa, like I knew it wasn't time. Now let me also say this. Periodically, I would go to her social media. I think at that time too, it wasn't a lot, but I would like go and just take a look, and I'd be like, not time, right? You know, for real. And I think that's really, really important, just to like insert some, you know, some wisdom there for all of the guys and ladies out there. Look, the timing has to be right. Like, you know, don't be afraid to allow things to process and people to process, and we don't have to get in the way. We don't have to, you know, manufacture things ourselves and make it happen. If it's a God thing, God's going to do the work. And ultimately, you know, that was where we were at. I was just like, you know, she's going to end up in a place where, you know, God works on her, whatever that looks like, right? I had no clue what it looked like or when, but yeah, I knew that wasn't the time either. We didn't. I think I hit her up and said, hey, it was nice to see you, and then that was it.
Yep, that was it. And we stopped talking again. And I think during that time, like that year and a half, that was the time where I was like spending the most with God. I stopped entertaining like these coaching websites, these social media. I used to follow like every romance guru, every couples coach. I was in that. Like, that is what I wanted, and I think that I was making it an idol, and I was getting into these like really, really bad relationships where they weren't working, they weren't fruitful or anything like that. So I said, fine, I'm just gonna be obedient, and that's all I'm gonna do. And so I was going on mission trips. I was at church probably like 5 times out of the whole week. I was serving so much. And so, yeah, so when he came into my work office, it was nice to see him, but I didn't have any like feel. I still kind of was like to myself and kept to myself. And then like another year had passed, and I know the timeline might be off a little bit, but he got in a relationship, and I remember, because we stayed friends on social media, and I remember he got into a relationship, and I saw the picture, and I was like, good for him, and I liked it, and I was like genuinely happy for him, you know, and then time went on.
Yeah, so that relationship she's referring to is actually before I saw her at the county building, and we served breakfast. And yeah, that was all about me actually getting impatient. I knew firmly what I heard from God regarding her, right? Not time. However, I personally was losing patience. So I knew I couldn't manufacture this here with her, but there was something else that, you know, was not of God that I crossed paths with. That you know, there was a lot of problems that you know, a learning experience, I should say, that came out of that. And I want to, you know, definitely encourage everyone again. Look, don't lose patience. Don't get in your own way. You can cause your own self some pain and harm. Don't mind this truck behind us. So
Interesting that this is happening right now. Yeah, and so I guess another year was passing by, guys. So it was kind of like we didn't talk for like 2.5 years or something like that. And I don't know, I saw him like I don't know, for some reason he became more visible to me on social media. And I would like see his posts. He had like this great burst of energy, very joyful, very inspirational. He was always running. And then I remember there was just this one post, like I was just like, oh, this is odd, but it's weird, and I'm weird. and I thought it was funny, so I was like, let me just respond to him. He was running, it was so windy that day. He was like running in the wind, like giving a word from the Lord and all this stuff. And I was like, this guy is crazy. He was like running in the wind and like talking as he runs. And I'm like, he's just so energetic. So I was like laughing at him. I responded with a laugh. And then he invited me out to one of his boot camps.
Yeah, and again, because of that one relationship that I said that I was impatient and got into, you know, that produced a lot of pain and suffering, and I knew that it was actually literally like sent from the devil. You know, it was like an attack on my destiny. There was something that, like, this is destiny, right? So it was something to take me out of that, and I could feel every bit of it. So when I got out of that, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, you know, like I am not about to, you know, allow something to take me the wrong direction again. And I was even more cautious, more careful. And yet again, I was at another place, right, where I was just like this to everything. And completely just focused on the bag, right? Just focused on building my business and purpose. Like overall, knowing, you know, when you know you're here for a major purpose and you're here to do great things, you got to protect that. And that's what I was all about, right? So when I was making those videos and inspiring, and she reached out, I invited her to my boot camp, and I was just super professional with it, like really professional. And
yeah, so I went to the boot camp, and I too at that time was praying for someone with purpose. Like I was praying for a mate with purpose. And so when I went, he exuded like a whole bunch of purpose, like, you know what I mean? And I was just so impressed just how he integrated like spirituality and fitness, and how we just had a great time at the boot camp. And I was just like in awe, like, oh my gosh. And then it clicked. I saw him like very differently. Like leading up to this boot camp, like I said, I saw him a lot on social media, and for some reason my heart started like to change and was like, whatever happened with him? Like, why didn't we work out? Like, I don't remember, you know what I mean? And so I started to find him attractive, like, you know, just the things that he was posting, and, you know, the things that he was saying, I was finding him very attractive. And I remember sitting in, like, I was in leadership class at the time, and telling my best friend, I was like, hey, what do you think about this guy? And she's like, go for it. And so when I went to his boot camp, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, what? And
yeah, so the interesting thing is, in the midst of that boot camp, we had a conversation, and my eyes were open. Like I was open, like oh wow, it's time, right? I wasn't even thinking about it at all, but it just, I would just say that I had a revelation, and my eyes became open in the conversation that her and I had, that it was time, and we were completely on the same page. And when I tell you that, like, we hit the ground running, y'all, like, we literally hit the ground running.
Yeah, he was trying to like work hard, you know, and act like he didn't like me, or I didn't know. I didn't know if he like was still interested. Like I was trying to like, you know, talk to him at boot camp. He's like, all right, bye guys, and I'm gonna go home now. But then it was like these little things, like, I don't know, like he was like liking my photos, and I was like, does that mean he's interested? Like I had no clue, but he was just supposed to be being professional. And so I was just like, all right. And so we had a conversation following that boot camp, and then that's when we both realized, like, okay, this is what we're going to do now. So.
Yeah.
And now we're here today celebrating our 1-year anniversary. And we're so happy that we were able to share both of our sides of our story with you guys. I hope we can inspire some godly couples, some black couples, anybody. You don't gotta be black, but, you know, just inspire people to have godly relationships, and just to be patient, to be obedient, and allow God's will to be done.
Yeah. And let me say this too. Like, our relationship we bear so much fruit. Like, we have truly multiplied, and I've seen an exponential amount of favor and breakthrough and blessing for both of our lives, right? I think that is really, really important. That you can see the fruit of your relationship, and you're not seeing, if you see that your relationship is birthing a lot of distraction, right, and dysfunction, that's from devil. That's from the devil. That's from hell, right? But when it is high key, right? But when it's producing something, taking you further in the purpose, and you're able to do a lot more in purpose with your partner, with your purpose mate, and you see nothing but the favor of God and breakthrough, you know that is God. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, babe.